Life Unrehearsed on CJAD 800. Brought to you by Marco Vendramini of IG Private Wealth Management. MarcoVendramini.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed, a show about the ins and outs of family life. So your life isn't going exactly as planned? Well, you're not alone, and we're here to help out. My name is Matt Delvecchio. I specialize in free retirement home search and senior transition support.
And I'm Corrie Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on the first half of today's show, well, you've probably heard about the iconic MAB-Mackay and their wonderful services to support people with physical impairments, motor impairments, or mobility challenges. Well, their foundation had a major announcement this week, and we're going to hear all about it, Corrie, in the first half.
Looking forward to that.
Yes, and Corrie, you got something that's going on Thursday, don't you?
Well, I have been invited to Federation CJA is holding this beautiful movie night, promoting this movie Far From the Tree, which really seems to be going into our theme today a bit. So we'll talk a little bit about that, I guess. Nice. I also understand that you have stuff going on this week.
Yeah, very fortunate. As you know, we do a couple. My wife and I, Stephanie Cadu, we specialize in senior transitions, and we will be at the YMCA West Island on Tuesday morning. Very excited, and we always get a good crowd there talking about downsizing and maximizing the value of your home in the senior living industry. So looking forward to that this Tuesday morning at the Y.
Always such a valuable presentation
sure. Thank you, Corrie. And what do we have going on in the second half of today's show?
On the second half of the show today, you're going to learn how plant-based living has completely overhauled this couple's lifestyle, which in fact literally saved their lives.
It is an inspiring, incredible story, and kind of segues nicely with this new Canada Food Guide that came out. And so that's going to be on the second half of Life Unrehearsed. So as I mentioned, this past week, the MAB-Mackay Foundation had a big announcement about its new direction in its mission to build a society where physical disabilities are no longer disabling. Love that terminology. Physical disabilities, no longer disabling. They do so much there. Corrie, as you know, MAB-Mackay is dear to my heart. My daughter, Lisa, is a graduate of there. She went there from 5 years old, I think, till 11 years old. And they have literally helped tens of thousands of not just children, but adults as well over their 100-plus year history. And that's why we're very pleased to have in studio with us Glenn Massad, Director of Communications of the MAB-Mackay Foundation, and Alana Geller, one of their board of directors and mom of a Mackay School student. Alana, we're going to start with you because we've sort of shared similar paths. When we talk about raising a child with special needs, it very much is a life unrehearsed issue. And in most cases, it's unexpected. The child doesn't ask for it. The parents doesn't ask for it. You're sort of thrown into it, and you go with the flow and do the best as you can as a family. And you have a son, I believe, at yes, Mackay School. Yes. And so I guess from your perspective, raising a child with special needs, how would you comment on that?
So I would say overall, it's definitely, my husband and I would both say it's been the most challenging, but also the most rewarding thing the two of us have ever done. It takes a village to raise a child with special needs, and it never stops. So the minute you think you've figured out something, there's 5 other things to figure out. And certainly for us, like you, it was completely unexpected. So Avi and his twin, Eli. Avi is a twin. They're 4. They were born 10 weeks early, but they progressed really well through the NICU, and we thought everything was okay. And it was about 6-7 months where we started asking questions, noticing differences between the two of them. And he was diagnosed shortly thereafter, and that period is probably one of the hardest times. And you get through that, and then it just continues with new challenges constantly.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned it takes a village, and it really does. And my daughter, as I mentioned, Lisa, she's in studio. I'm going to embarrass her here, but I often say, and Corrie's heard me say that, she is my hero because you look, she has taught me so much, as has the Mackay. But I would also say, when we're under the village analogy, it's Lisa, but it's her brother Anthony.
Yeah.
It's mom. her mom, it's dad, it's stepmom, it's stepdad, it's grandma, it's grandpa. It is a village, and they're all heroes because they're all dealing with this as they, no one's been educated or trained to do that. You're sort of thrown in that fire. So I really love that analogy.
Well, thank you both for sharing some of the very basic challenges and there's just so many more. And so that's why I want to know from both you, Alana and Glenn, why is the foundation and donors so important?
So, I mean, a big part of that village for us was the Mackay Center. So Avi received a referral to the Mackay Center right when he was diagnosed, which was officially at 11 months. And at about 16 months, he was admitted. And, from there, you have access to a social worker, you have all the therapists. You have people to talk to right away to answer all your questions, to help you navigate our system, which, face it, we all know is not perfect. So that's really Mackay continues to be a big part of Avi's journey and our family's journey.
And that's where the foundation comes in, is that the government certainly finances a lot, but we bridge the gap for the services and programs that they don't cover. And that's where we can provide the most people with the most support in terms of our specialized programs.
You're listening to Life Unrehearsed, and that was Glenn Massad, and he is here in studio with Alana Geller and, of course, Corrie Sirota from the MAB-Mackay Foundation. Most of us know it as that, and they have rebranded into the Habilitas Foundation with a big announcement this week. And let's go there. Why did the foundation rebrand to Habilitas? And we're going to say Habilitas a lot in this segment so people can get used to it.
Thanks for saying Habilitas. We rebranded. The number one reason is to help more people, and to help more people live a better quality of life, and to have access to the best physical rehabilitation in the province. So that's really the reason we decided to go under one umbrella, because the foundations had merged the Constance Lethbridge, MAB-Mackay. We have a camp called Camp Massawippi. So we help many organizations, and we want to help more of them. And with an overall foundation, we can help more people.
So it makes sense, but I gotta ask, what is Habilitas?
Alana?
It's all on you.
So Habilitas means ability or aptitude, and as Matt mentioned before, really our dream is to have a world where physical disabilities are no longer disabling for people who have challenges. So,
and just on that, Habilitas, I really like that name, by the way, because it expands the ability from a listener's perspective. You can get you into so much more. Now, you mentioned there's different, divisions. MAB being the old Montreal Association for the Blind, right? Doing a lot of visionary. Mackay, more physical and deaf, I guess, as well, and motor skills. Constance Lethbridge. Now, that's new to me. So can you just a little bit, what is that?
Yeah, Constance Lethbridge, the center itself focuses on adults with brain injuries or traumatic brain injuries, things as well as strokes and things like that. So now when the centers merged, we were able to help people from 0 to over 100 who have any physical disability, as you said, deaf or hard of hearing, blind or visually impaired, motor or communication disorders.
That's so. That is so all-encompassing. It's incredible. I know that you had shared with us. There's a number of stories because we now know a little bit about the what, we know a little bit about who, but we want to know a little bit more about the how. So Matt, I know. Wouldn't you be interested in hearing some stories?
We're talking to Glenn and Alana, and behind the scenes would be all of this is Sean Zickman. I got to get his name in here because he's the reason why we're all here today. There are some amazing personal stories, and we're going to hear about a couple of these personal stories.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota with my co-host Matt Del Vecchio, and we're talking with Glenn Massad and Alana Geller from the MAB-Mackay Foundation, which is now known as the Habilitas.
This is a good way for us to repeat the right way. Habilitas Foundation.
Habilitas.
Why don't everyone?
I got
Habilitas.
it the first time. Oh my God. Okay. First of all, I don't know if you heard that music interlude. Typically, Louis Armstrong sings that, but we very deliberately chose Ray Charles, given the nature of the talk that we're discussing today. So right before traffic, we talked a little bit about what the MAB-Mackay Foundation does, Habilitas does, etc. But we didn't talk about the real heroes behind these services. So can you really, I mean, you're incredible, Alana. Can you share more of your story about your son? And perhaps we can talk about some other ones as well.
Sure. Well, I love the word heroes, but we also, so Avi has cerebral palsy, which is a motor disorder. And in the CP community, we often refer to our kids as warriors. So that, that's a big part of it. And Aaron and I, my husband and I, see Avi that way. So Avi has a CP, as we call it, and specifically it's called spastic diplegia. And really how that translates for him is difficulty with mobility. So his legs don't work the way ours do, and his brain doesn't communicate with the rest of his body the way he wishes it would. So activities of daily life are tough for him. Getting from point A to point B, getting dressed, feeding yourself, taking a shower, taking a bath, all of that is tough for him. And as I mentioned before, he's 4 years old now, so he started school. He's in pre-K at the Mackay Center School. So as you can imagine, in pre-K, what do? You cut, you color, you glue stuff, you participate in songs and try and make friends. So a lot of those things are really tough for him. He has a lot of incredibly redeeming qualities. He's very, very charming. Mm-hmm. He's very intelligent. And he's very auditory, so he loves music. His favorite singers are Paul Simon and Leonard Cohen and Raffi. So we have both. And he loves books, so he can't read, but he has an incredible ear, so he memorizes, and he's memorized probably close to 50 books. And if you get one word wrong when you're telling it to him, he knows right away. Mommy, you forgot that one, or you missed a page. So as tough as it is to raise him, and for all parents who are raising special needs kids, there's a lot of silver linings in there.
Plenty of silver linings for those warriors. I love that word, Alana. Love it. And I'm going to use it. That's Alana Geller. We also have Glenn Massad in studio, and we're talking about what was previously known as the MAB-Mackay Foundation, now known as the Habilitas Foundation. I'm just going to add in a couple stories. I mentioned my daughter's here in studio, a little shy to come on the air, but she is now, how old are you, Lisa? 21 now? 21 years old. She went from 5 years old to 12 years old at the Mackay School. And I got to tell you, thank God for Mackay School. I asked her on the side, what was her favorite part of the school? She actually said the swimming pool. They have a great swimming pool. Rick Moffat actually did some swimming events there of CJAD, TSN 690, and asked, what do you think about the teachers? And she says, love them. She just loves the teachers at Mackay School, and they really are special. And I have to say, that's where the roots. It's such a young age, and Alana, Abby, 4 years old, right? But to this day, it's not easy. 21 years old, not easy to get a job now, a real job, paying job. But she has the confidence now, and it's all due to Mackay School. She volunteers left and right. In fact, Lisa, she was at the City of Kirkland Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday at their winter carnival, summer job in a seniors residence, and I really have to tip my hat. That goes back to Mackay School. So we've talked kids now. Glenn, we're going to throw it over to you because you've got a great story about a gentleman called Lucio, correct? Yeah,
Lucio is a very special person. He is a big ambassador of ours. You'll see him in our new video that's coming out on the habilitas.ca website, which we'll probably get that up tomorrow. It's the new video that basically, and Avi stars in it as well, nice. That where we explain exactly what we do, which is we help people across the continuum. And Lucio is a good story because in his 30s, almost in his 40s, he was losing his sight. He lost his sight. He began to lose his sight, and he had to learn and go through the grieving process of what that meant. He was a person who drove a truck for a living, and he couldn't see his children grow up in terms of visually. So he had a lot to deal with, and he had his roller coaster process that he went through. But ultimately, he has become an incredible, vibrant participant in society. He learned Braille. He has a guide dog. He walks faster than I do. He's really
Right.
quite something, and he's one of our best ambassadors.
And how old is he now?
He's 55.
55. That is incredible. And I think it's a real misconception is that we think about these services only for young. And so I'm really appreciate that you're highlighting just how across the continuum they are and how heartfelt they are and how important they are in the services. I'm going to go more to a bit of a mechanical question again, because so you're making this change from the MAB-Mackay to Habilitas. How does that work with funders? What if somebody I gave to MAB or Mackay, now who do I give to?
Well, that's the exciting part about Habilitas is that you can give to the organization that you always gave to. If you wanted to support the MAB-Mackay for someone with cerebral palsy, you can do that. If you really liked the programs at Constance Lethbridge, you can do that as well. Or you can donate to habilitas.ca, and we will... there's a section where you can, for our greatest needs. So you can do it any way you want, but ultimately we've had loyal donors for, as you said, over 100 years, and we have thousands of donors, and we want to make sure that they know that their money can go where they want it to go.
That's Glenn Massad, and also in studio with Alana Geller from the old, we'll say old, if we could use that, 100 plus years, I guess, the old MAB-Mackay Foundation, known as Habilitas Foundation. And, I just want to reiterate that because there is government funding. It's nowhere near enough, and donors are a big part of your organization. I was very proud to chair their golf tournament many years ago, and I saw firsthand how important these funds are. Very, very quickly, we talked about MAB and Mackay. There's Camp Massawippi and other specialized schools. I think my daughter and a whole bunch of kids went to Camp Massawippi. In a nutshell, what is Camp Massawippi in 30 seconds or less?
Camp Massawippi is the ultimate experience for kids with various physical disabilities who wouldn't otherwise have the experience of summer camp. It's a magical place. That's their tagline is, it's magical.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Well,
magical.
we guess we have a few of those camps around, but it is wonderful to know that those services are available. Can I just thank you? I can't thank you enough for coming and taking the time and sharing. How can people hear more about the organization? How do they reach you if they want to either need or use the services or want to donate to the services? Who do they talk to?
Basically, they go to habilitas.ca, and we're all there, and we're easy to reach.
And Habilitas.ca, the site is up and running now, right? This was a
Absolutely.
big announcement you had this week, so this is fresh.
It's
so
fresh.
glad to have you on the air so in a timely manner. So thank you both, Glenn Massad, Alana Geller, for being on the show today.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Corrie,
Such a treat.
what do we have coming up on the second half?
Coming up, learn how plant-based living has completely overhauled this couple's lifestyle, which in turn literally saved their lives.